Gaillardin is one half of sister founders of Millie&Sissy, an elegant and beautiful zero-waste beauty company that develops their refill range of personal care products based on their ethics and environmental consciousness. The current products that we use create millions of tons of plastic waste each year, creating an unsustainable burden on our planet. Millie&Sissy plan to change this, and I'm joined by Camilla today. Welcome, Camilla.
Thank you, Tanith. Thank you for that lovely intro. That was really nice.
It's amazing to have you here. Absolutely love all of your products. So let's get straight into it. Camilla, you founded Millie&Sissy together with your sister in 2019.
Yeah.
What inspired you both to come up with such a brilliant concept?
Well, I think it's really derived from our core values. So both my sister and I, we've both been raised with animals in our lives, and both huge fans of improving animal welfare where we can influence and when we can personally as well. And that links very closely in with the environment as well. So both big ambassadors for improving the environment and the impact we have on it where we can. So that's kind of what drives us. We've always wanted to work together, actually. So we have very different careers. So Sissy's worked for the NHS for 20 years. She's now working full-time on Millie&Sissy. And I've had a career in the UK, in Asia and in Europe, working in sort of product marketing and retail marketing. So we have very different backgrounds. And we've been talking for some time about starting a business together, but the question always is what to do. And then somehow we found a chemist in the depths of France who was working on this just amazing product, we've thought, and which is the Millie&Sissy range of products. When we first read about it, we thought, gosh, this really fits so well with our values. And so I called her up straight away. She was in the very early days of developing this range. And we said, could we come and visit you? And she said yes. And so a couple of weeks later, we went to see her in her laboratory. We got on very, very well, have very, very aligned values in terms of animal welfare, in terms of the environmental impact of products. And so we agreed to work together, and that's kind of where it all stemmed from. So from there, we developed the range together and developed our brand, the Millie&Sissy brand, and then launched it's more the beginning of 2020 is when we actually launched the range. We started out with a small Kickstarter campaign just to get things going and to get our supply chain in order, and then launched early 2020. So at our launch, we had a very basic range of 3 shower creams with, initially we were using a recycled plastic bottle, but we very quickly learned that everybody in this sort of environment, the sustainability, eco-friendly field, were looking for moving totally away from plastic. So they don't even want recycled plastic in their homes. So we quickly developed a range of British-made glass bottles and also aluminium bottles, which can be kept for life. So they just need sort of basic cleaning care, and then they can be refilled time and time and time again. And once you're sort of in this area, you start to learn some of the astonishing facts about, plastic. And one of the facts that's always stunned me is the fact that we're producing about 350 million tons of plastic every single year. And just to give you an idea of what that amount is, that's pretty much the same weight as the entire human population that lives on the planet. And that's being produced every year.
Gosh, that's astonishing.
It's an absolutely staggering fact. And, we're all learning very quickly that plastic just doesn't go away. It hangs around for hundreds of years, depending on which type of plastic it is. And we're not really very good at recycling plastic. There's only about 9% of all plastic that gets recycled. I think there's a lot of confusion about what can be and what can't be and where you should put it. And so a lot of it just goes into the landfill. So that's a catastrophe, and it's a burden that we know is unsustainable for our planet. So moving away entirely from plastic, we've now developed a range of beautiful bottles that are aluminium and glass, as I mentioned, and we've also extended our range of refills as well. So we have now a range of shower creams, we've got hand washers, hair and body washers, and shampoos, and we're about to launch some more new products, which I'm super excited about.
How exciting. And, just talking about those facts and figures, it's quite shocking to think about the amount of plastic. That's quite a shock when you think about the amount of people that, take the time to separate all of their recycling and stuff, to know that that figure is still so tiny, weeny. It's quite a shock, really. And so you mentioned about animals when I asked you the first question. Yourself and Sissy, you share a great love for animals, don't you? And I know that you rescued quite a few yourself, but there's one particular animal charity that I know Millie&Sissy support. I think it's called Animals Asia. What can you tell us about the charity and why that particular one you decided to support?
Well, I think I became aware of Animals Asia when I was living in Asia. And there was just something when I started to read about it that just really struck a chord with me. It's primarily moon bears that are taken away from their mothers, or they're trapped in sort of animal traps, and then they're put into cages it's bear bile farms, and they're kept in these tiny cages for, it can be as long as 30 years, and they have a catheter inserted in their gallbladders to drain out the bile, which is then used in medicines. And it's just a shocking life for these bears. And Jill Robinson, who is the founder of Animals Asia, she became aware many years ago about the plight of these bears, and she just did something about it. She now dedicates her entire life with her teams in China and Vietnam to very many different facets. So basically they're rescuing the bears from the farms, and they're also speaking with the governments as well to make it illegal and to educate people to say that there are better alternatives in medicine and so on. So they're sort of taking a very holistic approach with the with not just the bear rescue, but also the education and the influencing of people to make sure that it's not going to just continue in the future. But I think if you look at the, if you look at what they put out there, Animals Asia, there's a lot of really good stories out there. So they show you the, terrible conditions that the bears are brought into their sanctuaries in. Many of them malnutrition and dehydrated, suffering with lots of different problems. They could have lost a limb through the traps that they've been caught in. A lot of them have these behavioural issues because they've got no stimulation with being stuck in this cage the whole time. So it's a long process from the actual rescuing of the bears to the rehabilitation. So they have to spend a certain amount of time in quarantine, and they have all the veterinary care, the process of that goes along. And then they go into these amazing sanctuaries where eventually, the bears, they build trust with the other bears and with the humans as well. They're never able to go back out into the wild because they've never actually been in this sort of, a wild environment, a lot of them. And a lot of them are too, they've either lost their sight, or they've lost a limb, or they don't have the survival skills to live out in the wild. So they basically spend the rest of their lives in these wonderful sanctuaries. And the stories they show are just so beautiful and so heartwarming. So I think something struck a chord with me, many years ago with Jill's dedication on how she's just, she's a woman that's she's just done something about something she feels strongly about. And I admire that enormously. And for me, I have, animal welfare is in the core of my being, and I just love what she's doing for this particular group of animals. And actually what their organisation does is a little wider than just the bears, but that's their primary focus.
And
take a look, they're marvellous.
Yeah, we'll definitely share the links in this article so that people can click on that, because you mentioned to me about them the other day, and it's something I'd never heard about. I wasn't even aware that it was a thing. And I guess when you're talking about not just rescuing the bears, but raising awareness is equally as important, because I wouldn't have even had a clue that kind of thing was going on. I mean, you think about cruelty to animals, and you think about animal testing and and all of that stuff, but that's something that's really quite shocking. So I'll definitely be taking a look at that. Yeah, that's influence influenced your products as well, because they're not only reusable and refillable, but you've also done everything possible to ensure that they are vegan, SLS free. The refill sachets are even compostable, aren't they?
Yes.
How have you managed to create such a sustainable and circular product?
I think it's having discovered the chemist who really created them in the first place, and having such closely aligned values with her, it's not really a question for us, is it possible for it to be vegan? Is it possible? It has to be, otherwise it won't be part of our range, because we just don't want all these sort of animal bits and bobs in our own products. And so the environmental thing is a really kind of core part of the range, but also the efficacy of the product is also core to it as well. So, it's really a range with no compromise. So the fact it's vegan and cruelty free, and we've just received our certifications from the Vegan Society and the Cruelty Free, the Leaping Bunny Society. So we're super thrilled with that. So it's all very official now. It's not just us saying it, it's recognised outside. So when you look into what's made into these products, so the 80% of these products are generally water, for starters. So we're not transporting this water, that's added at home. So that's already a huge reduction in transport carbon emissions, and that's the major point of differentiation of our products versus what you see on the supermarket shelves, the fact we're not transporting the water. The fact it's vegan and cruelty free is a no-brainer for us. We wouldn't have products that weren't that. And then all the other additional parts. So hypoallergenic for sensitive skins is something that we were really looking for. And that's one of the reasons we went for a synthetic fragrance as opposed to essential oils. Essential oils tend to contain allergens, which can be irritable on the skin. Some of the other ingredients that are typically found on the supermarket shelves in their products are sodium lauryl sulfate and parabens. And these are very, very widely and commonly known as skin irritants. And also they can have more severe effects on people as well. So we wanted really to take out all of those nasties and make sure they're just, pure products that people just don't have to worry about, So many people nowadays are having, with all the hand washing that's going on, they're having skin reactions to a lot of the chemicals that are inside products. So we wanted something that's quite pure and that fit with our values. It's really simple. We do often get asked the question, how do you, is it not difficult finding supplies that match your criteria? But it's just not a question. We go out and find our supplies that can match our criteria and just don't contemplate the others that can't. So for us, it's relatively easy because that's just the only way we work. So it's not a question of making compromises or choices. It's just the only way we work. And that's very simple.
Really brilliant. And it's proof that it can be done, right? Because I think a lot of people do say, we're trying to make our products as ethical and sustainable as possible. But then there's something in the supply chain that maybe isn't as ethical. That's why one of the things that's really important to be on Bamboo is working with people that have really thought everything through. So I love that. And you mentioned about people washing their hands a lot of the time, and particularly children at schools are having to wash their hands a lot to try and stop the spread. And I know that my friend who's got a little girl, her hands get quite sore from doing that. So to have something that's completely harm-free is something that I think everybody needs to be looking at. But a lot of people actually resist moving over to ethical and sustainable products because there seems to be a huge belief system that they'll either be too costly, so they'll cost so much more than the other products, or that they'll be a less effective product. So what would you say to people that are hesitant to switch over?
Well, it depends what you're comparing with. So for sure, if you're comparing our products with these products that can be found in Wilko's and the Pound Shop and all the rest of it that cost £1, if you're comparing directly, there is a price difference. But you've really got to compare beyond that. So it's not really literally what you're seeing on the shelf at face value. It depends what drives you. So if you're looking for something that's more ethical and that's having less impact on the environment, you have to think about how the products are made. So On the supermarket shelves, a lot of the products are made by massive organisations, and that's one of the problems with making the changes to something that's more ethical or more sustainable. I've worked in bigger organisations in the past, and it takes them ages to make their changes. It really takes them a long time. When you're producing something in the millions and millions and millions of units every single year or every single month even, of course, the costs come down as well. And we're still working in small batches. It's all pretty much kind of handmade, actually. So there is going to be a cost difference there. But I think when you're looking to buy products that are more sustainable, more ethical, generally, so you understand the whole mindset of living a lifestyle that's more sustainable. And what goes along with that is just buying less of everything. So buying more carefully, selecting your products much more carefully, and then just buying a lot less of everything. So a good example of this, moving away a little bit from our products, but a good example of this is another hotspot for plastic is in the kitchen, where you can buy a whole plethora of products for doing all sorts of different jobs. Well, I've cut out all of that, and I just basically buy bicarbonate of soda and vinegar. And that's kind of it. And if that doesn't work, then it just doesn't get done basically in my household. So they're the two ingredients that I use for doing most of my cleaning jobs. And they work super, super well for the majority of things in the home. And so I'm not spending lots of money on all these different plastic things that come with these big fancy pumps that then get thrown away afterwards. Because I just find that a tragedy. It's, a terrible situation. So the two hot spots in the home, the bathroom and the kitchen, my advice would be buy fewer products, buy better products for you, and then the cost comparisons will easily be balanced out through doing that. We have one product that's a really good example of this. It's the hair and body wash. It's a combined hair and body wash. So you can use it in your hair, you can use it on your body, and it gives you a whopping 500 ml. So it's a very big size. And so having that one single product to replace your shampoo and your body wash, it's easily, if not the same price, much cheaper than what you would be spending. So I think you have to go beyond just comparing two products side by side. You have to go beyond that and look sort of deeper into it. So it's a bit of a long answer to your question. I'm not quite sure I did answer it, but I think you do have to look beyond just the face value of two products on the shelves.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And actually, because we live in such a consumer society, a lot of these companies that have got the £1 bottles that you can buy in various different shops, next to it there's a kitchen cleaner, a bathroom cleaner, a sink cleaner, an oven cleaner. So actually, like you said, if you end up buying 6 or 7 products that essentially have probably, when you look at the back of them, have probably got the same ingredients in them. Yeah. So it's just that they want you to buy more of their products. So actually, by, like you said, being more, being a bit more careful about the products that you do buy means that you could end up actually spending less, even though you're buying more expensive products. So that you definitely did answer that question. And I think it's really important, for people to think about the impact that having all of those things in their kitchens and their bathrooms do have, and that actually, we can say that we're saving costs by buying these cheaper products, but actually the impact on the planet is absolutely huge, and this is our home, so we've got to look after it, right?
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's a really key point, I think, nowadays. We can't just look at our own little bit anymore, which is what we've been guilty of in the past. And, we've not as individuals, but as sort of from the political point of view, from the, from a much higher level, we've known about this, the impact we're having on the environment for many, many years. And, whether or not we're too late now to be taking action, well, for me, it's never too late. I think we always have to, do whatever we can to make a change, to have less impact on the environment. But it's something that we've known about for many, many years. And, we have to do something. It's just, it feels a little bit too little too late, but, I'm an optimist. I believe that making these changes can make a difference. And I think we have to. I think we have no choice anymore.
Yeah, when you mentioned about the bigger companies and the fact that they take a really long time to change their supply chains, and you know, what we say to people is vote with your feet. You know, if consumers stop buying those products and start buying Millie&Sissy products, for example, then the companies, those big companies, will be forced to look at it because they want people to spend their money, and if they're not spending their money there, then that's when they'll make those changes. So
yeah,
you're absolutely right. So you mentioned about a new product range. I don't know how much you can tell us about that. What ambitions have you got for Millie&Sissy, and do you have any other projects or plans or anything for the future?
Yes, so we actually don't look too far ahead. So we're sort of still working very much on what we have and getting what we have out there further. So that's really our primary objective in our everyday lives. We're always working on new products. So we have a nice little pipeline of new products that are going to be hitting our website very soon. So early next month, just in time for Christmas, as it happens. Just more by chance than good planning, I have to say. But anyway, so we've got some wonderful new products coming out. I'm not going to mention too much about them because, you know, we like to sort of launch with a bit of a splash.
Sure.
So we're always going to be developing new products so we can broaden our offer, and so we can really help people just change out of all that plastic in their bathrooms and potentially in the future in their kitchens as well. I think already there's a lot of good work going on in the sort of kitchen cleaning area and house cleaning area. There's lots of much better options out there nowadays, so that's always a good thing. We're looking, in terms of future, we're looking really to just get our products out there a little bit further. So when the customers do go out shopping, they don't, you know, so at the moment you have to kind of specifically go to somewhere where you know that they're either going to be selling vegan products or they're going to be selling more sustainable products, or so you have to go to a certain website or you have to go to a certain shop that I don't want to use the word niche, but it's just not there obviously in front of you. So we would love our products to be an obvious choice in front of you when you're doing your weekly shop. So that's the challenge for us. We'd like to get our products out there to be a choice for consumers, just to prompt that thought in people's minds when they're out there shopping. Ooh, here's a plastic-free option, or here's a plastic-free, vegan, cruelty-free, and, you know, ticking all those boxes that our products do, all in one. So just to make it way more accessible. So that's kind of our really projects for the future, in addition to, of course, launching particularly new and broadening our range.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And you know, I would encourage everybody to go over, follow the links and go over and make the change today, because it could be the start of people that are watching this interview to make the change and start to be more sustainable, which would be absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for Camilla for joining me today. It's absolutely brilliant. I'm really excited to see what the new products are. I know you can't say too much, so I'll be keeping an eye out for your launch next month. And thank you ever so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tanith. It's always a pleasure to speak to you, and to the team at Beyond Bamboo as well.
Thanks.